Project management training teaches you how to manage projects. But one of the commonest questions is not how to manage a project, but how do I manage multiple projects, more than one project at a time? And that's the question I'm going to answer in this video. Actually, there's no simple answer to how to manage multiple projects. There's no methodology for it. The methodology is project management methodology. The challenge is to apply it in parallel across a number of projects at one time. And for that, I have a range of strategies to offer you. The first strategy, and the most important single idea in this whole video, recognizes the fact that human beings are just rubbish at multitasking. Whatever anyone tells you, we can't do it. Multitasking works if all of the things you're trying to do require very low amounts of cognitive load, mental processing. And if one of those things you need to do requires a high cognitive load, you can still do that and carry on with other simple tasks. You can drive and have a conversation with your passenger and probably change the CD at the same time safely, because although all of those things require some mental effort, most of them you can do without concentrating, and therefore you can keep your attention on the road. And note also that if you're a beginner driver, you can't do that because everything seems to take a high cognitive load, even the conversation. And therefore, when you're focused on driving and it's very difficult because it's new, you can't do anything else. So what matters if you're trying to manage multiple projects is that you don't try to multitask. What you need to do is what I call serial monotasking. You do a thing, you put it down, and you do something else. And therefore, my key idea is that of having multiple hats. Recognize that for each project, metaphorically speaking, you have a different hat to wear, and you can only wear one hat at a time. So the secret to managing multiple projects is to wear multiple hats, one at a time. And therefore, when you finish the task on one project, take that hat off, put it down, and pick up a new hat to wear. The second key idea is to understand the time cycle of each of the projects you're trying to manage. For some projects, you'll find that things hardly change from one week to the next, whereas other projects, well, something seems to happen almost every day. And there are other projects where, if you turn your back for 10 minutes, everything's changed. Recognizing that time cycle means you know how frequently you need to check in with each project. It wouldn't be right to default to the simple, every project gets the same amount of time, and I check in with each project on a regular cycle, and it's the same cycle for each project, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, because all projects are not equal, and in particular, they have different time cycles. You can check in on that slow time cycle project maybe once or twice a week. The faster time cycle project may need you to check in every day, and other projects may need you to be constantly alert to what's going on, your default attention. The third idea I'd like to give you is the idea of the commander's intent. This comes from the military, the idea, and I think probably most famously in early modern history, from Nelson's instruction to the captains of the ships in his fleet at the Battle of Trafalgar. The idea of commander's intent is you tell your team the most important fundamentals of what you're trying to achieve, the commander's intent, and you leave it to their judgment, their intelligence, their common sense to act appropriately based on understanding what you're trying to achieve. You don't try to micromanage. That way, you can turn your attention away from Project A to Project B, knowing that the team that are dealing with Project A know what you want of them and can make sensible decisions in your absence. Without that kind of delegation, managing multiple projects is just going to be impossible. My fourth idea is right at the outset, build a strategic plan for everything you're handling, all the projects you're involved with. Put them onto one chart. Represent projects or major work streams as bars on that chart and see how they interact, and then shift the timing of activities, work streams, and in particular of deliverables and milestones on individual projects so that you don't get crowding. You get a reasonable spacing between the major milestone on project A and the next major milestone on project B. If you find that project C has a milestone at around the same time, then shift one of them so that you are able to plan how you give each project your attention, and you're not trying to concentrate on two projects at critical points at the same time. Strategy 5 is to focus on the highest value activities that you can deliver and to delegate as much of the rest as you possibly can. So the question arises, what are those really high value activities, the ones that you can do and that you shouldn't be or can't delegate? For me, there are 4 of them. Firstly, facilitating high-level problem solving. The key problems that will define success or failure of your project, you need to be in there facilitating the problem-solving approach and making sure that it gets done properly. And linked to that is decision making. There will be decisions that you don't want to or cannot delegate. Those are high value governance related activities that you need to keep for yourself. Number 3 is engaging with principal stakeholders, the kind of stakeholders who are so important to your project and who recognize that importance that they expect you as the project manager to be engaging with them and taking their thoughts, their comments, their concerns seriously. And the 4th thing that you can't delegate is mentoring, coaching, supporting, guiding your team members. Yes, your workstream leads and team leaders can be doing that for their team members, but you have a responsible to the people who work directly for you to look after their interests and to help them to develop their careers and to thrive on your project. And they can't do that for themselves, so you have to do it for them. That's my number 4, principal high value activity. The 6th strategy is to focus on exceptions. You know the plan, your team knows the plan, and your team should be working that plan. So your attention should go to the exceptions. You should be available for your team to come to you when things aren't going according to plan, when they run into problems, when they don't know what to do. Number 7 is to prioritize leadership over management. This is about creating an environment where your team and the individual members of your team can thrive and succeed and deliver the project for you. In another video, I talked about the importance of servant leadership and its value to project management. And this is fundamentally what this thing is all about. It's about serving your teams so that they can get on and deliver the multiple projects that you are trying to control. My 8th strategy is to block out your week. At the end of each week, review what's coming up in the next week, the key milestones, important meetings you've got to attend, and block out chunks of each day for each of your projects. Give each project the right amount of time based on not only its priority as a project, but the priority generated by what's going to be happening in that week. And always leave time in your diary for surprises. Block out spaces to deal with problems that you don't know this Friday afternoon will occur next week. When you get into work on Monday morning, review anything that's happened over the weekend, talk to your people, and then either confirm that blocking or shift it around to accommodate the new priorities of your week. One of the things I always like to say is a schedule that has no float has too much risk and too much stress. Number 9, if you're going to manage multiple projects, you must be organised. I have 4 particular suggestions for you here, and the first is to make a sensible investment in a system or processes or project management software that will make your life easier and make your projects much more controllable. And by sensible investment, I mean don't go for the best, the whizziest, the most fancy software. Go for the kind of tools that people will use and that do all you need them to do and very little else. My second suggestion is you keep a file of project summaries, whether you keep it on your mobile device, on your laptop computer, or in a physical notebook or a set of folders. Always have with you key data about each of your projects. That means if you need to swap suddenly from project A to project E, and you haven't been working on project E for a while, you can always gather the key information, the names, the phone numbers, the deadlines. All of that is ready to hand so that you can be effective as quickly as possible. Next, I like to keep a multi-part notebook. Yes, I like physical notebooks. If you've got multiple projects, then carry a notebook where it's easy to go to the right page for the project you're working on. And if you're not going to buy a multi-part notebook, then it's quite easy to mark the edges of your existing ordinary notebook with color coding so that you can quickly turn to the right section of your notebook. And finally, make good use of visualization tools that allow you and your team members to quickly key into what's going on. Tools like a Kanban chart, like a linear responsibility chart, like a strategy chart. All of these enable you to mentally accommodate huge amounts of information very quickly indeed. Number 10 may be boring to some people, but be absolutely scrupulous about keeping up to date with your administration and your project control. Of course, if you've got the resources to secure a project administrator or a project controller or a program administrator who can handle that on your behalf, that's wonderful. But if you can't, stay on top of your admin or it will jump on top of you at the worst possible moment. It's a rule of the universe that when one of your projects goes into meltdown, that'll be the time when HR are screaming for you to fill out some forms and to do some assessments. So keep on top of those forms, keep on top of those assessments, get them done in good time so that you can focus on your project at those critical points. Number 11, managing multiple projects can be overwhelming. It can get to you. You need to be able to handle overwhelm effectively, to overcome it. And for that, we have a separate video, so I won't go into that here. And finally, number 12, get comfortable with saying no. You've got a lot on your plate. You've got multiple projects to handle, and some of them may be moving to a critical stage. You need to be able to say no. Make no into a positive by seeing no as a noble objection. Noble objection is when you decline to do something for the right reasons, and you decline to do it in a way that is polite, courteous, and respectful. And what are those right reasons? Because you have strategic priorities, and saying yes would inhibit your ability to deliver more important, more beneficial, higher value strategic priorities. Get good at saying no. Managing multiple projects will always be hard work. You will never be in your comfort zone. But at some point, when you've shown that you're good at managing one project, and there isn't a big enough project to occupy you full time, your organization will say, here you are. Here are 2 projects, 3 projects, 4 projects to manage, and you will need to manage them. And these 12 strategies will help you. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. We've got loads more great videos to come, so please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of them. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.